All right, hello and welcome. My name is Joseph Arnold,
And I am Aaron Bigeleisen.
and today we're going to talk about how to develop unshakable confidence in yourself as a person and as an artist. Like, what does it really take? What does it really mean to have that kind of confidence? And what will that feel like? What is confidence on stage and off? So we're going to just explore all these ideas, and hopefully you'll get some juicy takeaways, things that you can think about and try on in your own life. And before we get into all that, though, I'd like to invite you to stick around for the whole video, because at the end we're going to tell you about some of our very special offerings that we have for uh, musicians, especially people who have chronic tension, pain, things like that. We've got some free offerings and some courses coming up, so you'll want to hear about all that. All right. So, where shall we start with all of this?
Good question.
Well, one of the things that we hear about very frequently from musicians we talk to is that one of the biggest challenges, just as a musician, is just confidence.
Yeah.
And these are even people who are like really highly trained, and you'd think that they have their stuff together or something like that, but even some of these very highly trained people who are performing a lot, and they're really good at what they do, even they have described that they want more confidence.
Yeah.
And I find that kind of surprising. But at the same time, it also kind of makes sense with the culture of music, schools, and that kind of thing. There's always this anxiety, like, am I good enough? Am I enough? Am I doing this right?
Yeah.
And some schools even encourage that that kind of attitude. It's rife in the music world. It's harsh self-criticism.
Yeah, it makes me think of Renee Fleming talking about her performances. I was watching a Renee Fleming masterclass. So Renee Fleming, if you don't know, she is kind of the name in classical singing, and has an extreme technical mastery and is a really exceptional artist. And she said in this masterclass, in Q&A section, that she was happy, like really satisfied with like she could count the number of times on her hand that she was really satisfied, felt confident, really at ease with herself about a performance. It's like, this is the best singer, one of the best singers in the world. It's like there's something that's not quite lining up here.
Yeah. So it makes me think of or wonder about the connection between one's actual abilities and the actual outcomes of a performance. That's connected between that and your how you think about yourself and how you think about how it went.
Yeah.
I've had that experience lots of times where, especially when I was younger in college and thing, or I would play something and I would feel really bad about what I did.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, all these people would come up and say, "Oh, how beautiful!
Right, that's
I
right.
loved your performance so much."
Yeah.
I was always kind of astonished. Like, well, do these people just have no musical taste? Maybe that was a judgment. But no, I mean, part of it was having a level of expectation that is inhuman.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that's a good sort of through line for us here.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
what does it look like to have expectations that make sense,
Yeah.
that still let you be at the top of your game, but also aren't crushing your sense of confidence?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can talk about courage and
Mm.
soul force.
Cool. I like all this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, Right. So how do we set expectations for ourselves
Hmm.
that still let us excel at what we do and don't crush our spirits?
Mm, mm, mm.
Okay, there's this sense, I think, in the music, especially the classical music world, that unless your spirit is crushed, you're not doing it right.
Right, that's right. That's right, that's right.
It's
Yeah.
got to be soul-crushingly difficult. No pain, no gain.
Yeah. Which, maybe let's unpack that.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe let's start there. So, right, so I mean, I can acknowledge in myself, and certainly back in my conservatory days, basically the fear is that if I don't basically abuse myself into the
Right.
ground, right, kind of, I'm not flogging myself physically, but if I don't drive myself into the ground, then that I'm not worthy, and that if I don't treat myself that way, that I won't get anything done.
That's right.
I think those were some of the operating assumptions. And I guess so. So the fear was like, if I let that go, if I let that go of those fears of not being enough, not being worthy, and of well, will I get anything done if I don't abuse myself, if I don't make myself do things?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fear is like, those are the fears. And on the other side of this, I'll just say that having let those fears go, at least, that's not the main operators. Those aren't the main operators that drive my music life now.
Yeah.
I get way more done. It's way more fun. I don't have physical pain, and I enjoy my practicing.
Yeah, it occurs to me that point of view, which I also shared and still do, I can still feel that old story inside me.
Yeah.
It's a mistake about what's actually important in music, and it's putting the parameter of success in the wrong place. Like the parameter of success is me feeling really bad.
Right,
actually.
that's right. Which is crazy. That's crazy.
If I drive myself hard enough,
Yeah.
and that makes me feel bad, but if I drive myself hard enough, that's success. I have to exhaust myself. And and that's connected to the feelings of shame, unworthiness.
Right, that's right.
And that's all connected to confidence.
Yeah.
Right. Because what the opposite of confidence is unworthiness, right? So one part of developing unshakable confidence then is redefining success in making music.
Yeah.
So let's use the example again of being in conservatory, where one operating mode is driving yourself into the ground as success. And of course the consequences of that are manifold: burnout, tension, pain, joylessness, like ingraining shame in your music making. And what we want, though, is something quite different, right? Like really great performances are really inspiring. Let's think about, like, why are we doing this thing in the first place? Why are you making music in the first place?
Right.
Joy and like sharing love in your music, sharing your love of music, and also sharing love through your music. Why do you like making music?
These days, I like making music because it makes me feel way better. I mean, it's this is the
Shocking thought.
I mean, this is a crazy turnaround because only, it wasn't that far ago that for me, music was like one of the primary sources of suffering and anxiety in my life.
Yeah.
And it's just this crazy turnaround where, like, now the way that I take care of myself on a day-to-day basis is by letting myself make music in a joyful way.
Yeah.
And again, like, that doesn't exclude me, like, being attentive to like how it sounds and like what I can do in terms of like attending to my own vocal technique so that it works better. But yeah, like it makes me way better.
Yeah, so what you might do is think about your ideal performance. Imagine an ideal performance. It's like everything's going really well.
Yeah.
You feel great, and the audience is loving it. Just go through that. Like, have a little movie in your mind and write down how you feel, what you have, and what you are. So I feel blank. I have blank. I am blank.
Nice.
And just really like actually spend some time doing this. This will be really transformative if you do it. Like you'll figure out your values and getting them down on paper that can then start to reorient your measure of success. And when your measure of success is something that's inherent to you, to your values, to what you really want for yourself in life and what the kind of world that you want to create, then that's the kind of confidence that nothing can shake. Because you know what you're about. You know what you're doing. And you don't have to grind yourself down, wear yourself down, in that attempt. Because you probably want to be more alive up on stage, right?
Yeah.
And grinding yourself down or working yourself so hard or just like feeling bad about yourself because you made a mistake, none of those things are like bringing yourself more alive.
Yeah. There's a thought that comes to mind. I mean, this touches definitely pretty close to what we've talked about before, which is like if you tense yourself up a little bit for a second, notice, like I noticed that I stop feeling my emotions if I tense myself up. It's kind of a similar thing. So, my experience has been that when I push myself too hard and when I kind of get myself into like I'm grinding myself into the ground, I stop having some sort of reset. I stop being receptive. And so if your goal is to have so let's say one of your goals is to feel really emotionally engaged in your performance and to connect emotionally with your audience. Well, your means of doing that, if you're grinding yourself into the ground, are actually antithetical.
That's right.
So just to try it on, if you just imagine right now that I think we all know that quality of being, right? When like you just ground yourself, right? You just go and get it done, right? Just put that on just a little bit. Oh, that sounded so silly, but just put it on just a little bit and notice what happens to quality. Like, can you feel your emotions when you're really going to grind it out and get it done, and you're just going to push yourself until you can't do anymore? Can you feel your emotions? Can you move at all or freely? And if the answer to either of those is no, which it is for me, then you might want to choose an approach that actually outlines like, well, what values do I actually want to hold in my practicing? And and what are the unconscious operators that are currently driving my practice and my performing?
Yeah, and doing this redefinition of what you're about in making music is no easy task for a lot of us to let go of that old operating system of no pain, no gain, unworthiness. Yeah. There's actually kind of a sense of security that comes from holding on to all of this.
Yeah.
Like if I hold on to all this, then it means that I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
Or that it means that I'm a good boy or girl or something like that. And that's not easy to begin to soften.
Yes.
So that brings us to the next part of confidence, which is showing yourself that you can do it. So, there's a lot of, this is related to performance anxiety as well. There's certain methods of like learning how to be with the feelings that are really helpful, and you can do a lot of that kind of meditation, and those are really helpful things. And at the same time, if you don't end up showing yourself that you are okay when you're up on stage and you're not going to have as much change in your performance anxiety as you might like. And the same goes with what we're talking about here with confidence, shame. So when you begin to get clear about your values and what you want to do is show yourself that you can practice in alignment with your values, and you still end up learning what you need to learn.
Right.
You perform in alignment with your values, and you give a great performance. So having that kind of mindset where you're showing yourself that you can do this, will begin to really get the wheel turning in shifting your sense of confidence in yourself. The more you show yourself you can do it, just like, let's pick something, another example here. Just like with walking, this is something you had to learn how to do, right? When you were very young. I bet you have lots of confidence around walking. You don't even think about it anymore. You're so good at it that you don't even have to worry about it.
Right.
However, rather, before we get to the however, so, and the reason you're confident about it is because you've shown yourself that you can do it. Day in and day out.
Right.
And so it's a similar kind of thing here. If you show yourself that you can make music in a way that's good for your body, good for your soul, and you still end up making a great performance, that will help develop confidence that you can do this.
Yeah. And what's nice about that is that the more that you go about doing that process, the easier that it gets as you go. So what's so hard about the model of I'm just going to grind myself out and what's really difficult about that is that the more that you do that, the less resource you have to offer to that process. So you do that, I'm going to grind myself out. Okay, I got to the performance, I did it, it was hard, but okay, and now I'm so exhausted. Oh, and then the next performance, oh God, and I got to do this again. And so it's not really a sustainable model. What's so nice about developing this, showing yourself again and again that there's a way of practicing, there's a way of performing, there's just a way of being in the world that actually gives you more and more ease, where you take more and better care of your body, and more and better care of your soul, your essence, and as you do that, it's actually a system that feeds itself. Because then by the performance time, you might even actually feel better than when you started. And every practice session, you might even I feel better at the end of my practice sessions these days than when I started. It's a mind-blowing possibility. So there's something really to this.
Yeah. So I'd like to touch on one thing about shameworthiness. That I think is really core to this desire that so many musicians have to feel more confident. And then let's go into courage and soul force.
Nice.
So what I'm about to share with you is based on my own experience of really being mired in shame and unworthiness for a great deal of my life. And what I want to say, it might sound flippant, so this is why I'm giving you this context. I've really gone through this and worked with it a lot. And what I want to say is that if you have a story inside yourself that you are not worthy to play music or to be on stage or to really express yourself or just as a person, that is not true. Just take that possibility in for a moment. It's actually not true. It's just a thought that you're having about yourself. And thoughts come and go. Now, it's a very painful thought. There's a lot of emotional energy around it. Yeah, I get that. I've been there. I still have days like that. But as someone who's kind of coming out the other side of all those shame, unworthiness stories myself, I can tell you that it's not true. It's not who you are. And even if you don't believe me right now, you can kind of maybe have some trust that because I've gone through this, you can too. And get to the other side of it. And on the other side is that sort of, again, that unshakable sense of worthiness and goodness that you can have, that can permeate your life. So just to put that out there as a possibility.
Yeah. Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah. So our last piece here is about courage and soul force. One of our favorite thinkers, Jamie Wheel, has this lovely little way of thinking about all of this, where he frames a person's life stages in terms of 3 stages: pre-tragic, tragic, post-tragic. Pre-tragic is when you're very young and I want to be an astronaut or I want to grow up to be a president and everything's great and sunny in the world as far as you're concerned. And then tragic happens when you realize that no, not everything's great and sunny in the world. You're probably not going to grow up to be an astronaut or to be the president. And there's famine and hunger and injustice and cruelty in the world. That's tragic stage, is realizing all of that. And then post-tragic is realizing all the pain in the world and still getting up to shine your beautiful light and do the things that make you come alive. And yeah, to kind of have a sense of just trust in yourself and doing those things, but also sort of like a very long-term trust that in still showing up in your life, that things will work out somehow. So, and that's where soul force resides. Think of Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi. They faced incredible odds, and they really looked very clearly at their situation and the situation of all the people they were trying to help. And it didn't look good. And yet, they still got up and spoke their truth and did the hard thing. They had this incredible kind of courage and compassion. And part of what we're about here is that soul force, that courage, that compassion, showing up in your life, showing up in your art with these qualities because you want to, because the world really needs you to show up with these qualities to come alive in your life. Yeah. So how does all this relate to this question of confidence?
Well, yeah, so there's a couple thoughts that actually come up to me around confidence. So I would say that the experience or the definition of confidence that I see most often is something like some sort of bravado or delusion.
Right.
It's like,
pretend that I'm going to be okay.
I'm going to be fine. I'll be fine. Which is, I would say, it's a coping mechanism for being in feeling like you're in the tragic stage and just trying to deny that it's happening. That's my judgment around it. Is that so it's a useful tool as a stopgap measure, but I don't think that is true confidence. That's not my experience. So I'd also say that this quality of soul force, in my experience, is actually something that is A, effortless, and B, it invites me to simply do exactly what it is that I need to do, even if it's something that in my rational mind I see as extremely difficult. And it can play out in all sorts of different ways. And the thing that I would say is that if even in hearing us speak about this, you notice some sort of doubt, shame, or unworthiness pop up for you, like, oh, I could never do that. Just notice that. Just notice that that's a thought. That doesn't make it true just because it came from inside your system.
Yeah, I have a bumper sticker on my car. Don't believe everything you think. I was thinking about getting a new one. Don't believe anything that you think. Precisely for this kind of reason. Believing our thoughts can tend to create trouble in our lives.
Yeah, almost invariably.
Yeah.
It's funny that it's like the track record for what my thoughts, like what I think, and then what actually ends up being true. It's like, it's not a good track record. It's a terrible track record. Could you imagine if you kept watching a news source that was accurate 3% of the time? Yeah, and yet we do that. We're just like, okay, it's got to be true. It came from inside my brain, so.
Yeah.
So, so real confidence. It is a space that's beyond thought, and it's this. For me, it's this. It's simply a part of it is simply allowing this possibility that there's this space within myself that is totally unshakable. So, just in this moment, if you just allow for that possibility, let's say we're doing a little science experiment here. A hypothetical scenario is there is a space inside of you right now that is unshakable. There's a space inside of you that already knows exactly how to do what you want to do in such a way that feels incredible.
Yeah. It occurs to me that just naming that possibility is probably one of the most important things we can do here.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So, we hope you found some of that exploration useful. Hopefully something touched you. And if so, make a note of that.
Yeah.
Let that move through your system. Let that resonate inside you. Let that bring up new possibilities. Because it's inside those new possibilities, things you haven't tried before, that you will find this confidence that you're looking for. Probably not going to find it doing the same old things. So, yeah, please do that. Yeah, and write down your values, your ideal performance, how you feel, what you have, and who you are in that ideal performance, and begin to get clear about how to aim your life, your life in general, and also your musical life, towards something that actually matters to you.
Yeah.
You get to choose the stories, pick your own adventure.
That's right. And so have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun with your adventure. Choose what actually is going to suit you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and you'll know that it suits you when you feel good, when you think about it. It brings you alive.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we can explore more in another day, because that's a kind of a wild thing, right? It's just if it makes you feel like really good, really alive, then that's the right path.
Yeah, such a radical idea.
Yeah, it's been life changer for me. For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So we're going to wrap this up here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and as promised, we're going to tell you a little bit about some of our offerings, or our free offerings first. So we make weekly videos. We turn into a podcast as well about musicians and musicianship, and how to play free from pain and tension, but also how to give really inspiring performances, world-changing performances, and how to really contribute to a world in crisis as a musician.
Yeah.
And so please do subscribe to our YouTube channel or the podcast, wherever podcasts are found. And we also have a free course that you can get. You can sign up for, and you can just find the link below. 5 simple and surprisingly effective techniques for relieving pain and releasing tension, even when practicing the most challenging music.
Yeah.
So you can get that today for free. Begin applying these techniques to your performances. And we also have another course coming up soon, the Magic Pause. This course is for musicians who have chronic tension and musculoskeletal pain, repetitive strain injuries, and who just want something simple that you can apply to your practicing and performing right away.
Yeah.
And so the magic pause is that skill, like the most important essence of the Alexander technique of letting go of tension, even when you do really difficult things. So keep an eye out for that. You sign up for our waiting list below as well. And we'll have some pretty cool perks coming up when we launch that at the end of the month.
Yeah, I do want to say, so the magic pause, it is an essential, honestly, it's an essential life skill.
Yeah.
And if something touched you in the video about, well, it's like, how do I start to notice these habits of like grinding myself into the ground, or this operating from an unconscious sense of unworthiness? There might be some fear like, oh God, I don't want to do that. Well, we have some tools for you.
Yeah.
They're there. And we're happy to help you. So the last thing is, so certainly if this video spoke to you, you should sign up for our waiting list for the magic pause. It's an incredible skill. And it has fundamentally, it's changed the fundament of my life.
Indeed.
And also, if this video spoke to you, reach out to us. If this video spoke to you, you could comment, you can like this video, or just shoot us a message.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah. Very good. That's all for today.
Mm-hmm.